that scripture? It says the heart's melancholy, not deceitfully wicked. It's melancholy because we haven't risen into that deity form yet to go and possess the room and to create as creators.
Come on, come on.
That is so good. Like, as soon as you said that the room was left empty, I got goosebumps all over. I'm like, yes, it's waiting to be occupied. And that is why we are flipping the principalities and powers. So get this. Barashit, Reshit is a word that means leader. It means power and principality, and it has a bet added in front of it. And bet means to build the principalities and powers, right? From the inside, the very first word. And then in the middle of the word covenant, bet resh yod tov, is ish, fire. The fire on the inside that gives us the ability, because it's from our heart, that we would create through this beautiful covenant because we have built ourselves as those principalities and powers. And the first two letters, bar, those who have been winnowed, those who are of the purity and the innocent in the beginning are going to be returning in the end to enter that room and to create something anew, something that's not amiss, something that's not inverted, something that isn't controlling and manipulating and subjugating, but something that is lifting up and elevating into a new creation where we are all one, living from the heart center, collapsing that upper and the lower reality into our now, right here.
Right here. That's right. That's right.
Oh,
drop down.
So good. I'm like got champagne going off everywhere right now.
Yeah. That's why the scripture says drop down.
Yes.
You heavens from above.
That's
because you're imbalanced that way.
Yes.
Drop down, you heaven. Yeah.
That's Orita. That is celestial law in the oneness connecting. It comes into us. And so then we speak through Meltha. We have been so filled with the covenant and expanded in oneness that the things that come out are that living water coming from our heart because we've allowed it. We've allowed the Orita to come in and illuminate us fully so we can do these things and speak it into existence.
Oh my God!
Let there be light.
Yes, and every one of us is in that. Look at the process or the look at
the
illumination.
Gosh, Doug.
of Jesus. I bet you Jesus was pretty mind blown talking to the Syrophoenician or Canaanite woman when he saw her faith, and he said, "You know, I know my assignment. You know, it's only through the Jews." But when he saw that faith, he saw something new. He saw something that was unique from what he saw in Caiaphas.
Yeah.
He saw in Gamaliel.
Yeah.
He saw something unique from what he saw in himself previously. What Yeshua had come a long way. He had laid down the destiny. He had absorbed like a cloud. He cometh with clouds. He had absorbed like an inner cloud, was saturated with destiny. So that's how he knew he was the Isaiah 9 king. But before he could start it, he had to lay it down first. So he goes in the wilderness 40 days and he lays it down so that it was his destiny to change water into wine. But when it came time to change the rock into bread, he laid it down instead. You know what I mean? He sacrificed first. It was his destiny to walk through that crowd when you were going to throw him off a cliff. It was his destiny to have protection. But when it came time to jump off the pinnacle temple, the Caiaphas energy in him was like, hey, test this first. The Caiaphas energy is antinomian or anti the progression. The Caiaphas Moses energy in him was saying, test this destiny, jump off the pinnacle. No, he didn't do it. He crucified it he killed it first because he was ushering in the Piscean age where that's the formula, death and resurrection. Now we're going to enter continuity. But at the time, he was ushering something new. He had to die first and then resurrect. So the Caiaphas Moses energy was like, all the promises of Israel are in me. All the promises, the head and not the tail. All nations shall flow to you, Israel. So the Caiaphas energy, worship this way. Worship the way Caiaphas does. Keep speaking what Caiaphas is speaking, and you'll be at the head because that's the destiny of Israel. Worship me, worship this way. And then he refused to do that, because he knew there was a progression beyond Caiaphas and Moses, where he wouldn't he stopped keeping the Sabbath. He picked corn on the Sabbath, knowing that a man was killed by God for picking sticks on the Sabbath. He knew there was something more. The energy in him was starting to know something that he didn't know when he was sitting at the feet of the doctors of the law. And with that knowledge, he was starting to act on it. So first he lays down those 3 destinies of kingship, protection, and miracles so that he could pick it right back up after the wilderness, to work the miracle with changing water to wine, to be protected as he walked through the crowd, to reign and rule as the nature of love. Well, where was I going with that? Let's see.
Well, I can connect it to what you were saying about the vials.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The vials being poured upon him to lay it all down and to crucify it and to kill that egoic side that would have been following the Caiaphas way, because there was something new that was being built. There was a completely new shift and a new paradigm, and the old had to pass away for the new.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what I want to say. The emotional crisis that happens.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
At age 30, it says this about Jesus. It says he went into the synagogue to read the scriptures, as was his custom. So he was in with them. He was part of them. And now it's time to give his revelation. This scripture, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. Isaiah 60, the Spirit of God is upon me. He says this to them all who he was in with. They knew him, he knew them, he loved them, they loved him. This is fulfilled before you today. This is his posse. These are his boys. They try to throw him off a cliff.
I know, right?
So in today's world, the emotional crisis we go through, when first we feel we've betrayed ourselves, because when we depart from old traditions and old perceptions of God, we feel like we've betrayed ourselves first.
Yep.
And like a divorce, and then there's that worry, that doubt. We go through confusion. We go through what John the Baptist went through. Hey, I pointed you out as the Messiah. Now I'm wondering if you really are. We go through all this. The despondency, the social upheaval, we lose friends,
right?
Ministers that we were one with, they just ghost us. When we start speaking a new sound, we're thrown off the cliff, meaning we experience a thud on a social level.
Yeah.
And there's shock involved, and there's sorrow involved,
and depression.
Yep, that's very real. Very real.
Yeah, very.
Leo, sound was heard in Rama. She was crying for her children because because we had these destinies. We were going to preach at these churches. We were going to be an upgraded prophet. We were going to be the next upgrade to the minister we were. We had these children inside of us. We had these things that these destinies we were going to give birth to. Those were our children. And before we got a scripture that said, thy son liveth, meaning this thing will happen. And now paradigm change, revelation, the revelation of God to us is so different than it used to be. We start speaking it, and a sound heard in Rama, she's crying over her children because they no longer exist. Who am I now? What am I now? What am I going to do with my life now? I don't have any skill set. I'm a minister and I can't preach anywhere anymore because they won't have me. All these destinies are dead.
Oh, I feel this, Doug. I feel this.
Yep. And then Isaiah comes with his voice saying, these new children, where did these come from? Where did these come from? Where did these come from? But that crisis is real and it must be embraced.
Yeah. That's because it all has to diminish, it has to implode on himself. It's like that Phoenix moment, right? Mm-hmm. Where we allow it all to be burned down, those of the former, so that the new Phoenix can arise.
Right,
and it can be seen as fully transformed outside of that egoic It's a new creation, a
Right.
completely new creation.
But sometimes, even in our own perception, sometimes we have a little self-sabotage, or some of the old mindset.
Sometimes.
Yeah. The soul realm still has a little bit of that religious energy.
Oh, yeah.
And so we become, in the metaphor, the scripture, literal, and then metaphor, John the Baptist, and then full reality.
Right.
We're not even in the metaphor anymore. We're just full reality of the God in us. But in
Yeah.
the in-between stage, so what happens is we're being rejected. We're speaking a new sound. So now we are perceived as, well, you're not married to Christ anymore. Oh, watch this
Right.
now. Watch this now. You're not married to Christ anymore. And you just, you're looking at all these other religions and seeing the light in them. You're totally deceived. The harlot back then.
Yes, I knew you were going to go here. It
Yep,
is so good.
Yep. The
So
harlot
good.
is, yes, it was a woman in those days who was not married to one man, but took in seed from all men. But this is, even in the eyes of John the Apostle, when he was writing this, he thought what he was saying was evil. But it's what I would call the holy whore. Because this is
you're going to get some thumbs down on that one, but I totally get it.
Yeah. It's the holy harlot. Because what's happened is the mankind, the woman, has left her sphere as the beast because she counted her number. What did Peter and John want to call fire down from heaven? And Jesus said, you don't know.
You know what
manner of
spirit
you are.
Exactly.
They hadn't counted their number. They couldn't discern the manner of man they were. And so when we have 7 heads and 10 horns, the 7 is perfection of ordinances. 10 ordinances. 10 represents all the ordinances throughout the Jewish scriptures, represented by 10. 7 is perfect. Your headship, your government, your headship has been perfected by the old paradigm. And that person who pressed to the mark and achieved that mark now hates the harlot. Revelation 17 says that the beast hates the harlot. So I thought they worked for the same guy. They don't. So then we leave our sphere. We leave that sphere as the beast who's perfected the ark. Spell out in Hebrew, Ark of the Covenant. The gematria is 666.
Of course it is. The Ark of the Testimony.
Yeah. 666.
Vav, vav, vav.
All right. In Psalms, is it 19:11? So in the Psalms it says, referring to God, he hid himself in darkness. The gematria on he hid himself in darkness is 666.
Wow.
So this is wisdom. This is for those who have understanding. The perfected man in the old order of things, hates the harlot because it's not perfected in one dimension anymore. It's divorced that one dimension. And the harlot of Babylon is now a no thing. Nothing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. No time, no space, no thing.
Right. No one thing.
No.
You're not married to one thing anymore because you've grown out of that clothing, not under tutors and governors, but the time of point of your perception or the Father. And so now she can inhabit all things. Jesus said, all things are delivered to me from the Father. His perception of God fathered the reality of all things. Because he saw it in the Syrophoenician woman. He saw it in the Samaritan woman. He saw it in the polytheist Roman centurion in Matthew 8, who worshipped the god Jupiter, but also saw the light in the Jewish people and contributed to the temple. He's a universalist. So he's a Roman centurion worshiping Jupiter, but he also sees the light in Judaism. And Jesus looks at him and says, you have more faith than Caiaphas, child. You more faith than anybody in Israel. He saw that light in him. So now this Solomon in 1 Kings 11, where he builds abodes for Astarte. Right. Chemosh, the god of his great-grandmother Ruth was Chemosh, the Moabite. Astarte, Chemosh, anyway, 2 or 3, like 3 different deities he creates abodes for. The rabbi's narrative was that God was displeased with them, but I say from my spirit that was him outgrowing the single-dimensional Yahweh stream of consciousness, and he was outgrowing it, and he came into what had been darkness was now light. He said, in the dedication of Yahweh's temple, he said, God said he would dwell in the thick darkness. And
I know, right?
Yeah, it's only darkness until we see it.
I know. And so we have to be brave to go into that. And that is going to create the new, I have got goosebumps all over me. So, okay, simmer down, Carrie, because I get so passionate about this and I get excited and champagne. So the word for woman who rides the beast is anatha. Okay. And anatha is the same word for wife.
Okay. Hey.
So we are moving from the bride paradigm to the wife paradigm, and the wife is considered the queen. This is the fullness of the royalty of the message of those who are sitting as the principalities and powers that are fully crowned, of fully illuminated, of what I guess Kabbalah would say Adam Kadmon. The fullness of the crown and the glory and the illumination is going from the bride to the wife, the anatha. So many times when you see the word woman, it's actually wife. And the church does not preach or teach about the wife. They hold it as the bride. But here's this. So the bride, okay, simmer down, Carrie. You got me passionate. You got my heart stirred. I'm like, woo, let's have a good time here. So the bride is in a place of lower maturation. She's in the place of being set apart, duality. So when we think and we hold on to the bride paradigm and we say that we are the bride of Christ, we are not allowing ourselves to become one with Christ. You are only one with Christ when you are willing to go into the thick darkness. Once you go to the place of full maturation, of entering into becoming the wife, which is the chambers of intimacy where you become one and everything diminishes. Those vials are poured on all three parts and the fusion happens inside as one in the place of intimacy. This is the secret of the ancient Hebrew wedding that you have fully described. I love you so much. My heart is so full right now.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Chemical marriage. Yeah. So 1,000 years after Solomon, the rabbis wrote the oral tradition about him, and they said, well, God was displeased with him for loving these foreign women. See, spirit and soul, the man, the initiatic blueprint spirit, must love the feminine energy of the soul.
Yes.
Because right now we've got it ingrained. Paul was at a stage in his life where he said the spirit lusts against the flesh and the flesh lusts against the spirit. Your spirit and body are enemies, and we've got that ingrained in us from the religions. All the religions were saying that. So we've got to come out of that. Go into the thick darkness that we've not seen. See the light, the soul realm, the darkness, the incubation. Conception is in a moment. There's the trumpet. But conception, 9 months later, we have a baby. There's the vial. We finally give birth to it. So we go into that darkness of the womb, of the things we've not seen before. The Arabic root, FHM, means charcoal black, but it also means wisdom. So the dark wisdom, treasures of darkness that Isaiah talked about. Solomon went into that thick darkness, saw the light, saw what was there. So when it's dark out and no street light, there can be a tree right in front of you. And it's really there, but you don't see it. It's not in your perception.
Right.
But the morning light comes up.
Right.
You see the tree that was there all along.
Right.
So I believe Solomon started to see the God reality, the creator, not just the national Yahweh, but the God, the creator reality. And when the light lit upon a greater consciousness, and the rabbis, the corporate beast, that doesn't mean anything bad, just the corporate beast, wrote about this and said, well, God's going to punish the next generation of innocent people for what Solomon did there, for loving these foreign women. Well, that's strange, because Yahweh in the narrative punished David, the apple of his heart, immediately with the death of his child with Bathsheba. So that's not like Yahweh to just, so the truth is they didn't know what to do with the fact that they think Solomon sinned so grievously, but yet nothing bad happened. He had peace. The name Solomon means peace.
Peace.
So spirit. So when we say the harlot of Babylon, she was fornicating with all the kings of the earth, What you're saying is Solomon grew in his consciousness, had expanded consciousness, loved women, foreign women, and his spirit and soul conjoin. And so when my go ahead.
Shlomo, Vav
Okay.
on the suffix side means he connect to the darkness.
Come on. So you got it right. I'm not studying that, but that's a perfect synergy. Perfect synergy.
I know. So he connected to the darkness, and shalom means to be completed and perfected in mind, body, and estate.
You know that in 2011, when I allowed I intentionally took my sovereignty back, and my spirit and my soul started to conjoin, and now I have more power and authority to decree things for people now than I ever did when I was
absolutely.
There's the power, there's the authority, there's the true mantle is you, not a deity putting it on you. Even though there's a glory to that. So beautiful. So Babylon is a phase where the religious eye, the religious perception, sees what we're moving into and hates it. We start speaking things, and you start remembering where you've heard those things before. Let me say it again. This is the images in the book of Revelation are our life story.
Yes.
We start teaching things, and we're like, wait a minute, I've heard this before. And I don't just mean in the celestial realm before you're born. I mean this is what I mean. I've heard this before. Oh yeah, I remember. This is what people were teaching when I was calling them heretics.
Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh.
This is what these people were teaching long ago when I said they're the whore of Babylon.
Oh my gosh.
And now I'm that. So then we have to come to that single eye, where instead of double energy, the illumination, we're speaking from illumination, but there's still that energy in the soul that says, oh, I don't know about this. I'm still in distress over it. Still feel like, oh, I've abandoned myself, and then if given time, you go through the trumpets, you go through the vials, you go through the lake of fire, Song of Solomon says, my love is a vehement flame. You take in a revelation in the fire properties of God. Our God is consuming fire. Start burning the ignorance away. And next thing you know, you perceive it a second time.
Yes.
And now it's the woman descending, coming from the heavenly realities, healing the nations.